Hello. Do you like the motor?
Yeah, boy, the never Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
I always stay up all Christmas Eve fingering my parcel.
Boys, I'm looking for a good time.
Yeah. What you done with all those tins of cling peaches? What you done with them?
Jingle bells.
Will it be tearful goodbyes for everyone? The holiday season comes to an end for the Reps on BBC One now. While here on BBC Two, it's a battle between brains and beauty. But where does Dick fit in? Find out in half an hour. First on BBC Two, the best that leave the rest behind.
In tonight's Top Gear, they said we'd never agree on anything. But tonight, Tiff, Quentin and I name Top Gear's Car of the Year. And if Ronnie Biggs is watching this Christmas, we'll be taking off in some choice getaway cars. After much careful deliberation, a panel of 57 motoring journalists from right across Europe...
Not us.
No, you're right, not us, but they've decided that the 1998 Car of the Year is the Alfa Romeo 156.
They liked its style, its value, its performance and its handling. And they decided that of all the cars launched this year, it's the best.
The trouble is, the Alfa wasn't launched in Britain this year, so it can't be our Car of the Year. Anyway, those 57 motoring journalists can't always be trusted to make the most sensible choice.
I mean, in 1982, they went for the almost unbelievably tedious Renault 9, a car of such spectacular longevity that here we are 15 years on, and I can't find one anywhere. This is a Renault 11, but shh, same sort of thing.
A few years earlier, they went for the Rover SD1, even though the few cars that wormed their way down the Trotsky production line fell to pieces after just 5 minutes on the road.
In 1979, with particularly cloudy vision, they selected the Talbot Horizon. What they didn't realise was that 2,000 miles down the line, the engine would sound like a pair of castanets and the gear lever would come off in your hand. Mind you, it was French.
The trouble is, a car that's good in France or Norway or Greece isn't necessarily any good in Britain, which is why we've decided to wind up the series this year with something new.
Yep, what we've done is looked back at all the cars we tested in 1997, and we are going to name the Top Gear Car of the Year. Well, it's obvious, isn't it? The best car we drove in 1997 was the Ferrari 550. It has a colossal V12 engine and goes round corners even better than it goes down straights. And it's a Ferrari. You just can't do better.
No. Of course you can do better. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the new Porsche 911. It's less than half the price of the Ferrari. It's now got 300 horsepower, it's got wall-to-wall airbags, it's got the most superb race-developed ABS brakes. It really is a genuine, use-it-everyday supercar.
Tiff, it can't possibly be the Car of the Year because the engine is in the wrong place.
No, it's not.
It is, it's at the back. When did you ever see a horse pushing a cart?
Look, when I got hit up the backside on the A34, I wanted the engine in the back.
You're being ridiculous. The engine should be in the front.
It's up quicker.
It's dull. I know people who are cancelling orders for that car.
Children arguing about their supercars. It isn't the 911 and it isn't the Ferrari F50. What neither of these two imbeciles realise is that when you're choosing a new car, the most important consideration is value for money. Which is why our car of the year should be the Volkswagen Passat. It's got millimetrically precise German build quality. It's astonishingly economical, has wonderful second-hand values, and will outlast even Barbara Cartland.
Quentin really likes this car, but you know something? Quentin also likes the music of Roger Whittaker.
And anyway, Quentin, if value for money is the main criteria, you'd end up picking something like this, the Daihatsu Move, which is not only one cylinder short of an engine, but is probably the most ridiculous car ever made.
Here's the thing, our car of the year will offer good value for money, but it certainly won't be the Citroën Zara, because we're also looking for style and panache.
I still think it should be the Porsche 911. Well, I still think it should be the 911.
Tiff, will you leave the 911? Jeremy's given up on the Ferrari 550, and even I'm not trying to defend the Mercedes A-Class, am I?
Upside down, boy, you turn me inside out and round.
But Mercedes did launch a very good car this year, and that's the CLK. So good, in fact, that you could buy one on the Monday and sell it on the Tuesday for £10,000 more than you paid for it. Mind you, I suppose you're going to tell me your beloved Jaguar is better.
Yes, I am actually. You see, when I tested the CLK, its electric windows broke. Now, when I tested the Jaguar XJR here, its electric windows didn't break. Mind you, it did rupture my spleen. Enough, I'll talk! Stop! The XJR is £10,000 less than its German rivals, yet it's even more luxurious. And it is amazingly fast. With a supercharged V8 engine, rumour has it, this thing gets from 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds.
But you don't have to fork out £50,000 for serious performance. For just 37 grand, you could have the new Chevrolet Corvette.
Quentin, the Chevrolet Corvette is a cheap bit of American plastic that only comes in left-hand drive, and it's got no style whatsoever.
Tiff, you are in no position to lecture me on style dressed in a shirt like that.
And you are in your faded blue jeans with your Ray Wilkins haircut.
Tiff, the Corvette will do 175 miles an hour.
If I may interrupt, in a straight line, what happens, Tiff, if you get to a corner in a Corvette?
You crash.
Exactly.
Look, it will do 60 in 4.9 seconds. That is just 0.2 of a second slower than your Jaguar.
I know, but 0.2 matters, for heaven's sake.
It doesn't matter.
It does. If you live to be 70, that's 600,000 hours. That's all you've got. If every time you accelerate to 60, you're losing 0.2 of a second, you're wasting your life.
All right. Answer me just one question. Have you, in point of fact, ever actually driven the new Corvette?
No.
There you are, by his own admission, television's tallest twerp.
You know something amazing? There are some cars we all like. We love the look of the new Peugeot 406 Coupe and think the 2-litre version is a good bet, but the V6 is too pricey. The new Honda NSX is just stunning, but it's a supercar, a dream car, and as such, it can't be our car of the year.
And it's not as good as a 911.
Or a 550.
This too was the year when we found two excellent diesels, surprisingly enough. The first was the Volkswagen Golf, a beltingly quick and interesting little car, and the second is the wonderful Mercedes 300 Estate, which could rattle to 60 in 8 seconds.
We thought the Ford Explorer was a good, big bruiser, and at the other end of the scale, I fell completely in love with the little Peugeot 106 GTI.
And of course, this was the year that Nissan finally brought their superb Skyline GTR to Britain.
In fact, there have been a lot of blindingly good new cars this year, but we've managed to come up with a short list.
The Land Rover Freelander.
The Ford Puma.
And the winner is the Porsche 911.
Shut up, shirt.
It isn't the 911, and nor is it the Land Rover Freelander. We were hugely impressed by this car's dynamic abilities, especially off the road. We like the prices, which start at £16,000, but best of all, we just loved this car's style. It's just this reliability business. Land Rover are adamant that the cars you buy will be bulletproof, but the pre-production models tested by our sister magazine and our sister radio programme both had problems.
Which just leaves the Ford Puma. I love the Puma's price, 14.5 grand. The fact that it's going to have blue chip second-hand values, be cheap and easy to service, and that there's a Ford dealer on every corner. Jeremy loves it because it's huge fun to drive, is cheeky, feisty and fashionable. Which means there's just one thing stopping the Puma from being our Top Gear car of the year. Tiff hasn't driven it yet.
However, as night falls, he's about to. A number of directions there, Tiff, all in one go.
Well, I had to get away, didn't I? So, fool them.
Oh, we're dead. Come on then, what's it like?
It's revs away. Look, 6,500 miles an hour in fourth. It's a racy little machine.
I suggest the middle pedal. I'd use that middle pedal now. Now.
Leslie Father, I have seen just a sick bag.
So do you like the way the back comes round then, Tiff?
Just a treat. Yeah, you can put it where you want it, flick it in.
And I'll remind you, we've got 3 up.
You've lost it this time.
I think we like it, everybody.
Give it a flick. Whoa, about another gear. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, God.
Here in the middle of a slide like that. What are you doing now? Oh, I hate every molecule in your body. Now what are you doing? So, are we all agreed?
Unequivocally, yes.
You like it?
Brilliant.
You like it?
I'll vote for it.
Done.
Top Gear, car of the year.
Well, I enjoy wine with a meal. But, I mean, obviously I'll go and have a coffee before I went anywhere near the car.
Oh, I can hold my drink probably more than most.
This year, the Breathalyzer celebrates its 30th birthday. But while we're bombarded with a salvo of don't drink and drive ads, the government is missing a trick. Because there's a new menace on our streets. Drivers so stoned, their eyeballs are pointing straight up through the tops of their heads. And beginning to gauge the enormity of the problem is like trying to scoop air into a heap. Nobody knows. All we can do is guess. In this country, over 1 million people will, at some time or another, get in and out of cars while they are completely off their heads on drugs. That is scary. And it's even more worrying when you read a recent report that says 1/5 of all drivers killed in road traffic accidents have traces of illegal drugs in their bloodstream. This is a problem that's bigger than anybody realises.
It's a huge problem, and quite frankly, I'm surprised anyone could think any differently. There's difficulty from the police. You've got drug squads who are under-resourced. They are tasked to try and identify and arrest the dealers. You've got the road traffic department that are very geared up towards breathalyzers and drink driving, but would, in my experience, find it very difficult to identify somebody who's actually under the influence in drugs.
And don't think it's just 18-year-olds at clubs and raves or junkies in caftans and open-toed sandals. It could be a next-door neighbour, a van driver, a teacher, even a driving instructor.
I would start off in the morning with some heroin, taking 2-3 lessons, back home with the excuse of popping to the toilet and topping myself up with some more heroin. Back out again, teaching people to drive for 2-3 more hours. Then I would again do a detour to home, same excuse, have some more heroin, and that would try and keep me going through till sort of tea time, 5-6 o'clock.
And this is no secret to the mandarins in Whitehall. Mention drugs and driving to any government minister and they'll have the wobbles, because they know at the moment there's little that can be done. But this is nothing new. People drugging and driving, they've been doing it for years.
I've been taking drugs since I was 13 and driving since I was 17. I'm now in my 40s and I've never, ever driven a car without being under the influence of one drug or another.
What sort of drugs have you taken while you've driven?
Cannabis, speed, heroin, magic mushrooms, amyl nitrate, you name it.
And can I ask you what you do for a living?
I'm a teacher.
The rave culture has made recreational drugs available everywhere, from council estates to Hooray Henry wine bars. And the relentless search for a bigger high means that there are drivers out there who mix mind-numbing cocktails of every drug going.
Everyone has to drive right out to like the middle of nowhere if you're going to like an organised rave or like a jungle or something, and there's no way you'll last out the whole night if you're not on something, and then to get back they have to drive back, so most of them are on something when they drive back.
You're going to jump through red lights if there's no one looking, overtake if there's no one looking, shout at people if they're in your way. You're going to do anything.
My friend tried some heroin for the first time and we're both off his faces on heroin. We're driving along on this like in country where we live, and we looked at each other after a bit and then looked at the road and we drove about 40 foot up a bank without even realising it.
And do you know where the perfect place to do drugs is? The car. More people buy, sell and use drugs in cars than anywhere else. Don't think being off your face just makes you mellow. If you're fooling around with the hard stuff, crack, coke, LSD or E's, then the word is wasted.
I worked for a company and I had a problem with drugs. I'd be up all night till it was time to go to work. Then go down, get in the vehicle, no sleep, drive to the depot, load the van up, go out, do deliveries. But that had to be done extra quick, speeding, doing all the breaking laws all the time.
We know that drugs contribute to road rage, car crime and fatalities. But nailing someone who's on something isn't easy. To insist on a blood test, first you've got to arrest them. Then you've got to check for traces of up to 6 different types of drugs in the bloodstream. And that costs around £600 a throw. No wonder the police don't know which way to turn. But in Germany they may have come up with a solution. Roadside drug test kits. When the Germans piloted these swabs, 50% of the drivers they tested came up positive. You wipe them over a driver's forehead and if there are drugs in the system, the indicator turns pink. Swabs like these may be piloted in this country early next year because the government knows they've got to do something and do something fast. But in the meantime, I can offer no solutions. I can't even tell you how to spot a drugged-up driver. But what I can say is this. If you're watching and you think it's cool, clever or smart to drive while you're stoned, it isn't. Just think about the rest of us who have to use the roads. And listen to someone whose life was completely ruined by drugs and driving.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. You've got your life. It's too dangerous. Get back to reality. Just give up drugs.
Can you
you tell your Maserati Mistrals from your Ferrari Daytonas? Do you care whether or not the Ford Escort's better than the Toyota Corolla? Do you have opinions on a wide range of car issues, from traffic jams to servicing? Do you have your own view as to what our car of the year should have been? Well, if you can answer yes to those questions, you're the sort of person we need here on Top Gear, because the world's top motoring programme is looking for more researchers. People with a massive passion for cars, who've got the nous to come up with a good story and turn it into a few minutes of exciting television. To succeed, you won't have to have worked in television or journalism before, but flair with words and pictures would help. And if you want to apply, we're going to make you do some work. We'd like you to think of 3 ideas for Top Gear stories and write them up in no more than 400 words each. We're interested in what you think should be on the programme, and that's not necessarily what's on it at the moment. Send your applications, along with a CV, to this address. Top Gear Researchers, BBC Pebble Mill, Birmingham B5 7QQ. The closing date's January the 26th, 1998. And I'm sorry, we won't be able to acknowledge your applications or send any back. You don't need any more information, but if you want to check anything, call on this number during office hours, or consult this CFAX page. And don't worry, we'll repeat all those details at the end of the programme. If you're successful, you'll be based here at historic Pebble Mill in leafy Birmingham. Initially, we'll be offering 6-month contracts, and if you're interested, we really would like to hear from you.
Calling all cars. Any officers in the vicinity of Upper Gusset, stop and detain occupants of green Ford OPG 147. These men are dangerous. Please be terribly careful, chaps.
More villainy, Sarge. What's the world coming to? My Aunt Agatha would hang them all. It's the working classes. First thing we ever did was give them shoes. Oh, blimey, Sarge, it's them. Come on, old boy, tally-ho. I say, Sarge, did you hear about the fearful fight in the village fish and chip shop last night? 2 men got battered. Ho, ho, ho.
Since the motor car was invented, the criminal classes always had a taste for the very fastest getaway wheels, and the police always had a job keeping up.
This miserable 1948 Wolseley 1460 couldn't even catch a cold. Despite an 1800 straight-six engine and twin carbs, it could barely sniff 60. Its wood frame and ancient chassis meant it was just a pre-war design warmed over. Just look at those silly semaphores. But by the early 50s, villains like the young Ronnie Biggs were picking Dagenham's flagship, the 750-pound Ford V8 Pilot. With a side-valve 3.6-litre lump and hydraulic front brakes, it could hit 80. And at a mighty 1.5 tons was built like the Lusitania. The criminal classes were sniggering up their sleeves. Wolseley should have stuck to sheep shearing because the 1460 was a prodigious antique. But it taught Plod an important lesson. The only way to catch the crims was to join them. In its day, the V8 Pilot was one of the fastest cars around, and Plod loved its mid-range heave. Scotland Yard had a dozen of the things specially tweaked, and they were reckoned fast enough to catch anything, even another Pilot. The cops and robbers were now neck and neck, but not for long. Ever resourceful, the Blaggers found a new secret weapon, the Jag.
Far out, Harry. Groovy wheels. We could blag every bank in London in this. We could retire, Harry.
The crooks thought the Coventry Cat was the king of getaway cars, and the Cray twins swore by the biggest Jag of all, the Mark 10.
But next time, sweetheart, could you nick us a red one?
To catch Ronnie and Reggie, the constabularies splashed out on S-Types.
Sir, what do you call 2 burglars? A pair of niggers. And there's a right pair over there, sir.
Harry, move it, it's the film.
3.8 could crack 125 miles an hour, and its E-Type independent rear suspension meant it could go round corners too. There was plenty of room for prisoners in the rear, and its voluminous boot could carry 2 High Court judges. The chase was on.
But ironically, it was here, in the back of a police Jag, that most villains ended up. When the Krays were taken to court, they were booked in 2 white S-Types and taken up in an armed convoy up the M1 at 130 miles an hour.
Not only were Jaguars easy to steal, they were big and strong enough to carry even bullion, and they flattered the villain's vanity. But the cinematic Jag performed a bit too well in chases and became the stereotypical underworld car. Any Cops and Robbers TV show or film featured a sideways S-Type, and Shepperton Studios were famous for writing off 1 a week. Come the 70s, the Rozzers had wised up and upstaged the Robbers with the help of Uncle Henry. In 72, Ford dropped their very wonderful cast-iron 3-litre V6 into their strapping Mark I Granada.
George! Wait!
Every police force in the country queued up to own one of the best jam sandwiches of all time.
No!
Who is it?
Flying squad! Open the door, now!
What do you want? He ain't here. I ain't seen him since he come out.
You lying slag, I'll have you later!
In your dreams!
From the Sweeney downwards, Plod loved it like their own. It was big, butch, quick, and had plenty of cred with the Crims.
There he is! Get him! All right, this way! Mind the kids! Oh, never mind! Here, George! You hear the one about the old lad who nicked the calendar? He got 12 months. Oi, shut it! Right, George, right! God blimey, George, my granny's eyes better than you!
The Granny was the 70s version of the Z-Card Zephyr, but much, much better. In standard tune, it could do 120 and didn't handle like a hovercraft in a hurricane. The Metropolitan Police favoured Consul GTs because they were lighter and faster, and by the time the police mechanics had finished with them, they could do 135 flat out. Ford even did a special police pack, stripped out and lightened with stronger front seats for all those heavyweight police bottoms.
And although it was officially denied, police cars were tuned to go faster. Engines were ported and balanced, and rear suspensions fitted with heavy-duty springs. Plod had wised up. And in the 90s, the battle continues. This time, the gangsters are into the 240-brake Volvo V70 T5. With a maximum escape velocity of 146 and 60 miles an hour coming up in just 7 seconds, they're blisteringly fast but low profile. And with enough room in the back for half of Hatton Garden, they're a getaway car to die for. But anything the villains can do, Plod can now do better. Because the old game of catch me if you can is finally over. The police have won the battle with a new secret weapon. The ultimate deterrent no longer runs on the road. So if you reckon you still fancy outrunning the boys in blue, don't even think about it. Our last programme of this series is on Monday the 22nd, and we get in the festive mood with the celebration of TVR's 50th birthday. On New Year's Eve you can see the best of this year's highly charged Network Q RAC Rally. And to kick off 98, don't forget Jeremy Clarkson's Extreme Machines. That's in our usual Top Gear slot, Thursdays from January the 8th. And finally, here's a reminder of the address for our researcher applications. And don't forget to include your CV and suggestions for 3 Top Gear stories in less than 400 words each.
And the January issue of BBC Top Gear magazine takes a closer look at the European Car of the Year alongside its closest rivals.
All right, darling. Lovely. I thought you said you knew where you was going. I do, man, I do. We'll be there. Oi, check her out. Hello, princess. Nice. I tell you what, if we weren't in this poxy van, I could have pulled them. Oi, don't diss the van, man. This is a love wagon. Oh, hello.
Lovely. Sunday night on Radio 1, it's Dave Pearce here till 9 with some slamming tunes.
Meet the Rude Boys, managed by Maureen.
For years you men have ogled young girls. Now, it's time for us women to have a look.
And trained by Bad Billy Bowman.
I was a male stripper for 10 years, Maureen. The biggest in the business. I can show them boys of yours upstairs the tricks of the trade.
How far will they go? Brace Hussies, starring Julie Walters, Robert Lindsay and Chrissy Rock.
Look, I don't want an explosion. You're causing static electricity up inside me tight.
Luke's going.
Tuesday, 9 o'clock on BBC Two.
1 million people were evicted from their land in India for the sake of 5,000 tigers. Is the threat of extinction real, or should the balance be left to nature? Scare Stories investigates in 25 minutes. Now on BBC Two, some aliens that could give Mulder and Scully a run for their money.